Hello, everybody. And I sweated a lot because I did. It's not really sweat on my face. I literally washed my face in the bathroom right now because I literally walked 4 hours just to get home from the theater. I went to a theater that's literally in another city. I live in Grand Prairie, Texas, which is in the outskirts of Dallas and the outskirts of Arlington, which is the outskirts of Fort Worth, DFW. I literally walked 4 hours to the mall to see Old, of all things. That's what I'm reviewing today's Old. And yeah, was it worth it? Fuck yes. So I'm gonna be Jeremy Johns to give you a plot synopsis and that's in the review. Basically, Old, to give you a very rundown. Beach, people age fast, they gotta get out of the beach. Base conspiracy, M. Night Shyamalan twist, there you go, that's a plot. Now, what worse about this movie? M. Night Shyamalan's fucking insane. Like, his dialogue is terrible. Also, the acting in this movie is, like, some of it is really bad, but others really good. Like, Rufus Swell, who I mostly know as Adam, the main villain, and Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. He plays Adam, the main vampire he has to fight. He plays a schizophrenic. Well, I didn't know he's schizophrenic. Like, I don't think M Night Shyamalan really understands how mental illnesses work. The last couple movies all involve mental disease, but I don't think he knows. Like, The Visit is about these mental patients who escape and pose as someone's grandparents they've never met. They're like old people and they're like act all weird and then they turn out to be like killers. And that's then of course Split, or they still call it multiple personality disorder, although I don't call it anymore. I think they call it DDS. I think it's or DD something. It's like dissociative personality disorder. Basically, dissociative personality disorder. I don't think it's multiple personality anymore. I think that got offensive after all these movies about people with multi personality disorder, all serial killers, that they have so many personalities and one of them just kills people. I mean, maybe that's why they changed it, and I call it dissociative personality disorder (DPD). Yeah, but no, like the guy in the movie played by Rufus Swell is like a doctor, and I'm pretty sure he's very racist because there's another character in the film who's a rapper. He's probably like a SoundCloud rapper. But I do love his rap name is Mid-Size Sedan, which is kind of a parody of all those crappy rap names like Lil Yachty. And he kind of reminds me of like those braids, like those like SoundCloud rappers have the braids. And he's one of the better actors in the movie. I like his performance. Although most of his dialogue is just him saying "damn," like he's like fucking quoting the Kendrick Lamar album "Damn" all the time. But no, it's just his dialogue always "damn" because he always sees something that says "damn." But his delivery is kind of funny because like a big black dude's like "damn," like it was like a comedy. That would be like a joke. He'd be like "damn," it'd be like that fucking scene in Friday, and like "damn," but not that silly. But it's still kind of funny. He just says "damn" all the time. It's not his fault. He has to deliver the line. That's how it's written. But I kind of wish Shyamalan gave him more dialogue. It isn't just him saying "damn" when reacting to something. It's just like half his dialogue. So basically, I really think he's super racist because every time he saw that black dude, and there's a, like, even though the woman who turned up dead on the beach in the beginning is like his girlfriend, I believe, he automatically blames the black guy because his nose is bleeding. He's like, she wants to defend herself. But no, I mean, it turns out he has some sort of like, so this is a spoiler. Everybody in the alien has an illness, and the black rapper has an illness where he just can't stop bleeding. All right, I think it's that when you get like a small cut or something, your body doesn't produce blood clots that stops the bleeding. So basically, if you get a little cut, his illness makes him bleed and bleed and bleed and bleed and bleed and just not stop bleeding. And I'm guessing because the ageness and the makes his illness more apparent, he starts bleeding, and then he starts bleeding. And then the guy played by Rufus Hill is like a high class doctor who has like a hot wife who's a lot younger than him, who's obviously only married him for his money. He's obviously he's obviously there's something wrong with him. He's very racist. He doesn't make any sense. But at first I thought he had dementia because a lot of people want to cure dementia. I don't think that's a cure yet. Dementia pretty much means it's almost like Alzheimer's, but it's a lot worse. Like your brain literally shrinks over time. One of my favorite musicians, Malcolm Young, the only person who was famous, I literally cried for it when he died. He was the co-founder of AC/DC, my biggest inspiration when I began playing guitar. And when I heard he had dementia, I knew he was going to last a couple years. He lasted 3 years fighting. And according to Angus Young, he was actually more happy when he died. His brother Angus Young, who co-founded AC/DC, because he said the saddest part was watching him wither away. Like he remembered him all smiles, but he was obviously not all there because his brain was just shrinking until he passed away. I thought he had dementia because there's this running gag. It was actually kind of funny, where in the weirdest time he just starts remembering a movie for just apparently starring Jack Nicholson and Marlon Brando, and he can't remember the name of the movie. and he started disassociating like memories, and he started talking about weird shit. Especially this movie, he somehow just didn't remember, and I think that's more attributed to dementia, where your memories start to like pile up on each other. You just remember stuff, and you start talking about weird shit. But my point is schizophrenic, according to the Wikipedia article, he was schizophrenic. It makes more sense later, where he literally brutally murders the black rapper because in his mind, when they escape the island, he's gonna come and rob him because he's rich and of course he's lower class, and all the lower class gonna rush people. That's really weird. But I actually like Rufus Hill. Like his character's completely unlikable. It's super funny when he's just talking about this apparent Jack Nicholson Marlon Brando movie. He's talking about it, and like the weirdest times he's trying to cut out a tumor from a character to save her life. It's like, do you guys remember that Marlon Brando and Jack Nicholson movie? Like in the weirdest times, really funny. But like if the character wasn't likable, like the actor's not likable, the character would have been completely unlikable. Because I said he's super racist, he's schizophrenic. He really thinks this guy who he's never met before, whose wife or girlfriend just literally died on the beach. He was like completely like a normal dude who just happens to be a rapper is gonna rob him when they leave the island just because he's rich and he's white. It's like, what the fuck, dude? And it doesn't help. He's literally schizophrenic. Like he's literally talking to himself. Like more since later, he's schizophrenic. He brought his mom with him. It was elderly. She was the first one to die, obviously, because they age quickly. So she died of natural causes, and he still blames the rapper because apparently he killed his mom, even though she obviously died of natural causes, sort of. Basically, she died of old age because she aged fast, and he still blames the black dude. I'm like, this guy's not. He's off his rocker, but at first he has dementia, with off his schizophrenia. But I don't think Shyamalan knows anything about mental illness. And the other great actor is Gael Bernal, who's a very famous Mexican actor. He was in the movie Toma Tambien, which released in stardom. He recently played Hector in Coco, and he plays the father of the two main kids. He's really good. His wife's not that great. I don't know if it's not even her acting. I think if she spoke in her own language and had her subtitled, it would have been better. Because Gael Garcia Bernal has been doing movies in English for a long time. He obviously has an accent because he's Mexican, but you can understand his dialogue just fine. His wife is kind of hard to understand sometimes. Like, she has a very thick accent, and she talks very slowly, and it's kind of grating at times. But Gael Garcia is so funny. Like, his dialogue is like statistics because he's actually a guy who makes insurance. So he starts talking about how, like, most accidents happen in coffee tables, and he's trying his kid not to tell him. And he talks about all these statistics and exposition. But it's funny because Gael Garcia, he's a really likable dude. And he plays like that dad, like, he obviously tell he loves these kids. And all the actors who are the family have great bonding. Sometimes their acting isn't that good because apparently, like, I just recently reviewed Pig, and Alex Wolff plays the more older version of the kid when he starts to age up. And I don't know what it is. I think Shyamalan gave him really bad direction because he's not very good in this movie. I literally just seen the movie in the same year in Pig. He was amazing in Pig. He had great scenes where all he had to do is just look at Nicolas Cage, and you can tell by his look, he's like, what the fuck, dude? And here he's like screaming and saying terrible dialogue, and it's so weird, it's terrible. It's like, he's not a bad actor, but I think the direction is really bad. Also, quick note, there's that scene in the trailer where that girl's pregnant. Well, that girl starts off like a little toddler and grows into teenager, and obviously they start having like hormones, and they obviously don't show them fucking because that'd be really weird. But it's still weird to me because they're obviously still have the mind of a 6-year-old, and apparently they just have sex and don't even know what they did. I do like the line when they walk out, and she's obviously very pregnant, and then she said, "What did you do?" It's like, nothing. We just played. I just got a little fat. I'm like, that's obviously a mind of a toddler. So in my mind, they're still minds of a toddler when they fornicate. That's really weird. Ugh. I prefer it than one of the older characters banging one of the younger characters, saying, "Oh, she's hot." That'd be weird, but it's still really weird. I don't like that. I don't like the thought of it. I don't like to think about it actually. But it's still weird. It's a cool scene though. That she literally gives birth in 20 minutes because that's like an entire pregnancy. Because they figured out the math. Apparently they age every like hour. So like a whole day is like 50 years. It's like a whole lifetime pretty much. And that's about all the cool stuff. The bad stuff, again, the acting is really weird. The guy who plays the nurse, Jaren, is really not a great actor. His girlfriend is not that great either. She has really bad dialogue. Like, all the dialogue is very clunky, and the big twist is so obvious, but I kind of didn't get it at first, because obviously they start talking about how they have so much time, because the guy's like, you said 5 minutes, we'll never get there. Obviously they're talking about, oh, time feels like forever, but in this, when they get to the beach, they're obviously not gonna, they're gonna age quickly. But when they get there, they have these cocktails ready for them, like, oh, they're drugging them, aren't they? But at first I thought it was gonna be a movie about how calcium's bad, because there's a character with calcium deficiency, and apparently they had this drink that's nothing but calcium. This like M Night Shyamalan's movie against calcium, like how the happening was against the killing the environment because the trees are so important. And his twists are always so weird, and they're always had the message like the villagers are like, don't discriminate people, or like the happening is like, don't destroy the environment. It's like, what the fuck, dude? But no, it's not that stupid. Kind of stupid. But then I remember there's this scene where Gael Garcia says, "Why so much food?" And of course, M Night Shyamalan has a cameo as the guy who drives them to the beach. And he's not a bad actor, but I kind of wish he has a silent cameo. Cause he's a pretty interesting looking dude. He's obviously not American. He was born. Well, he is American. I think he has descent from Indian. He's obviously Indian descent. He has like the curly hair, the very dark skin. He's darker than me. The pointy nose. He's obviously he was born in Philadelphia. That's his hometown. That's why all the movies are shot around Philadelphia. And the first movie not to be shot around Philadelphia. But he's obviously a different race. But he was born here. He's a really cool looking dude. Like you look at him, it's like, oh, he looks like some sort of like, like a really cool, like knowledgeable dude. But when he starts talking, he has a very flat American accent. He's kind of wooden, but it's still kind of funny hearing him talk, saying like, oh yeah, like guy said, well, I have so much food. Like, oh, I got 3 kids. He kids eat a lot, but basically, the reason they gave him so much food is because they need to eat a lot. Like, they have a lot of carbs. And also, is this a movie about how bad carbs are? It's like a keto diet movie. No, basically, he had to eat a lot of shit because they're growing so fast, and the kids needed their metabolism to grow. And it kind of worked because every time they get super hungry, they just eat until they fully grew up, and they're like, oh, okay, I'm not that hungry anymore. So that was kind of well explained. And yeah, that's about it. Alright, I said spoilers in the title, so here's a big reveal. It turns out it isn't a resort, which is kind of weird because the guy Garcia keeps saying, how did you find this place? And the girl's like, can you believe I found this online? Yeah, lady, that might be kind of weird in the year 2000, but this movie looks like it takes place in 2021. It's released in 2021. Literally everybody gets their vacation online. They just go on cheapo tickets, whatever.com. They book a hotel, they book a flight, they book a location for cheap. But it turns out it's a lot weirder than that. Like, they asked like, how did you find this place? Turns out it was just some sort of resort in the back of a receipt at the pharmacy. And all these people, like I said, all have diseases. Like, the vain one has a calcium deficiency. The doctor has schizophrenia. The wife of Gael Garcia had a tumor, which they rip out of him. So they all have these, like, diseases that are very deadly. And it turns out this resort is actually a research lab, and they're doing clinical studies, which I don't understand why they all have to die, because they want them all to die, and then they make this. Basically, what happens is they found this island, and it ages your cells very quickly. That's kind of the scientific explanation. And what they're doing is they're doing this research, which would take years and years, but doing it in a single day, because in 24 hours, that's like 50 years, that's an entire lifetime of research. And then once they get the cure for all their illnesses from their dead bodies and shit, they then ship it out and make like drugs and medicine to cure diseases, and hopefully cure every disease in like a couple months, because instead of waiting years and years, they just do it. So I guess it's actually a commentary of how evil sometimes the pharmaceutical company is, who like they literally, like, if an FDA does a study, they'll do a study on a group of people, and if one of them dies, they're like, oh, whatever, that's like one person. But it's like a big study. According to this, is like subject 70, so they probably killed many, many people, and they probably all died. And this is actually kind of cool. It's really clunky, but the main character kid, he asks people their occupation, and then he always remembers it. So one of them says he's a cop. So the only people that survive are the 2 kids, which kind of sucks, because I love the guy who plays the dad, Gael Garcia. There's only one scene I started tearing up. It's because the reason they went on that vacation is because the 2 main characters, Gael Garcia, who plays Guy, which is that's a very memorable name, and his wife is like Francesca or something, I don't know, played by Vicky Levant, basically another foreign movie. They're basically trying to mend. Basically, she was almost cheating on him because he was never attentive, but she literally saved. It was Guy's decision to take out the tumor to save her life, and they realized they're just fighting all the time, and then they make up. By the end of it, they die peacefully together because they're dying of old age, because they're already kind of old. And in a couple hours, they age like 50 years, so they die of old age. And like that made me tear up is because the woman literally says, the only place I want to be was with you. And it reminds me of something my girlfriend always tells me, that she's only happy with me because she loves me, and that made me tear up mostly because of that. It was emotional seeing Gael Garcia delivers a great line about how he's not. He remembers he was mad about something. He doesn't even remember. He doesn't even care anymore. To him, it's been like 50 years. He just loves his wife and they die peacefully. That's a sweet moment. And that's Gael Garcia's good acting. Everything else is just weird. Just a moment where the girl's calcium deficiency literally turns into a pretzel because her bones crack and heal very rapidly, but they heal in the wrong area, so her bones are all cracked and bent, and then she dies. People die pretty horribly in this film. It's pretty cool, actually. I'm surprised with PG-13 because mostly because of one shot, the dead body is completely naked. You see the butt and the tit for like a second, for a minute. They're like, "This is R-rated?" I didn't check the rating, but no, it's PG-13. I'm like, oh, that's kind of ballsy for Shyamalan to put a fully nude woman in a PG-13 movie, and even for a couple of seconds he left in the shot of her butt and nipple. I'm like, ooh, if you weren't Shyamalan, if you're like an independent filmmaker, a studio say cut that shit out or making it an R or an NC or really R-rated movie. And there's only one use of the word fuck, but it's actually a really good use. Basically, Gael Garcia says, "I'm a fucking coward." That he should have said something about his wife cheating on him, and he just kept it to himself. And he should have done something to save his family, but she's like, it's not your fault. It's a really sweet scene, actually, but that's a good use of the F word, saying, "I'm a fucking coward." And again, it's PG-13 movie, so you have one use and they used it well. Other than that, it's just a weird movie. Also, to point out something, Doug Walker reviewed it and called it Shyamalan bad, and he said something to explain. Here's the thing about Doug Walker. When he watches a movie, he misses stuff, and he says it's the movie's fault. Basically, he says they just apparently just end up 10 feet behind, but no. They literally said in a line of dialogue, you just started walking backwards and fell. But according to him, they just pop up 10 feet behind and they just flash out. It's literally explained. Like, Oni makes fun of him because he's like, I don't get it. I don't get it. No, that's not good. It's like, I can't really do good Doug Walker right now. I'm trying to mind make Lewis. I don't get it. No, I can't do it. I'll just edit in his crappy Oni's great impression of I don't get it. I don't get it. It's not It's like a high pitched I don't get it. That's literally Doug Walker in every movie. Like, I don't get it. I don't get it. He's a pretty bad critic. I like shitting on Doug Walker because it's funny. Hopefully no one pretends to be me on Twitter and sends my family and friends gore photos, because apparently if you shit on Doug Walker, some asshole fan impersonates you on Twitter and DMs your friends and followers like gore videos just to fuck with you. Apparently that's true because I talked to Jim Gizerel, who's my favorite YouTube reviewer, on Skype, and I heard this on the Pizza Party podcast, which is also on. I'm gonna ask him this personally soon, but he said the reason he stopped doing all those Doug Walker reviews is because people are super fans, and they somehow impersonate you, and they say, hey, look at this cool video, and it turns out it's like a gore video, and he's like, yeah, I ain't doing this. Wait, I think I can do it. I don't get it. I don't get it. No, it's still bad. I put it in the clip. But yeah, fuck Doug Walker. This movie's okay. If you're interested in a fun time in the theater, it's only like an hour and 40. They over-explained the twist. They could have just ended it right there, and they figured out, hey, if you used to quarrel to get out, and then, like I said, the kid always asks the occupation. He remembers everybody's occupation, so he goes to the police because some guy left a journal with all the addresses of all the people who went missing in the hotel. So the cop takes that as evidence and shows, yeah, all these people are missing, and the last place they were at this hotel, and these kids found this journal of how they're being surveillanced by this guy in this beach, and there's obvious this hotel is kidnapping these people, and so the cop uses the evidence to arrest all the people at the hotel because they're literally like murdered people just for scientific research. So it's a pretty happy ending. I wish they all died and it was like, holy shit, research is going on, the ethics of human research, whatever. But anyway, hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all later.